Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling.
No one expected this moment to matter. It wasn't on the official schedule, it wasn't announced, and it certainly wasn't designed to become a headline. Yet within minutes, it quietly overtook the entire evening. Cameras were meant to follow the lights, the stage, the music. Instead, they drifted elsewhere. To a corner no one was watching, to a seat no one had prepared for, to a presence that felt out of place, and because of that, impossible to ignore. An older woman sat calmly in the VIP section, composed, observant, almost deliberately invisible. Beside her stood a familiar figure, attentive but restrained, as if his role was simply to make sure she arrived, nothing more. No grand gestures, no attention-seeking smiles. And then, without warning, the atmosphere shifted. On stage, the performer paused. Her gaze lingered. Something unspoken passed between the stage lights and that quiet seat below. In that instant, the concert stopped being a performance and became something else entirely. Viewers at home leaned closer. Phones in the audience stopped recording the stage and turned sideways. No one knew what they were watching yet, but everyone felt it. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't choreography. This was the kind of moment that only happens when real lives briefly surface in public, unprotected by scripts or statements. And once it happened, there was no way to look away. The event itself was meant to be familiar. A charity concert, carefully organized, attended by prominent figures, designed to highlight goodwill and generosity. The focus should have remained on the cause, the performances, the polished unity of the evening, but the audience noticed something that didn't fit the pattern. The woman in the VIP section was not a sponsor often photographed. She wasn't part of the usual circle that appears at these events. Her presence raised quiet questions even before her identity became clear. People leaned closer to their screens, replayed short clips, compared still frames. Recognition arrived not with certainty, but with a shared intuition. This was not a random guest. This was someone who mattered deeply, even if most people had never seen her before. What made the situation more striking was who accompanied her. Not a manager, not an assistant, but someone known to millions, someone whose presence alone usually commands attention. And yet, that night, he remained deliberately secondary, allowing her to take the seat, ensuring her comfort, stepping back when needed. It was a subtle choreography, not of fame, but of respect. Observers didn't see an entourage. They saw care, and care in an industry built on appearances is impossible to fake convincingly. Then came the moment no one had predicted. During a brief pause, the performer stepped away from the stage. This was not planned for the audience. There was no announcement, no dramatic cue. Security moved quickly, but without urgency, as if they already understood what was about to happen. The performer approached the VIP section with a calm that felt deeply personal. No performance smile, no wave to the crowd, just focus. And when she reached the older woman, she didn't bow politely or exchange formal greetings. She embraced her, fully, quietly, for several long seconds that stretched far beyond what public etiquette usually allows. The hug was not hurried. It wasn't performative. It carried weight, the kind that suggests history rather than introduction. People watching noticed how the performer leaned in, how her shoulders relaxed, how the older woman responded with equal warmth. This wasn't admiration, it wasn't obligation, it was familiarity. And in that embrace, something unspoken became visible. Not a declaration, not a confirmation, but a feeling that this connection existed long before the cameras found it. Nearby, the man who had escorted the woman stood and gave them space. His expression was calm, almost knowing. There was no surprise on his face, no confusion. He behaved like someone witnessing a moment he had anticipated, not one he needed explained. That detail mattered because it suggested preparation, understanding, perhaps even consent. Nothing about this interaction felt accidental. Almost immediately, the footage began circulating. Short clips, blurred angles, shaky recordings from phones held too long in the air. Millions watched the same few seconds again and again, searching for meaning in gestures, posture, timing. People slowed the video down. They watched who spoke first, who held on longer, who stepped back last. In an industry where statements are carefully worded and appearances meticulously controlled, this rawness felt almost shocking. What followed was not noise, but silence. No immediate clarifications, no denials, no cheerful social media posts reframing the moment. Management teams remained quiet. Accounts continued posting unrelated updates. The absence of response became its own form of communication. Because in this world, silence is rarely empty. It often means something is too delicate, too significant, or too unresolved to be addressed casually. Attention then shifted to who was not there. The absence was noticeable because it contradicted patterns people thought they understood. The older woman is known to value privacy. Public appearances are rare, often avoided entirely, and yet here she was, in one of the most visible settings possible, without the person she is usually seen protecting most. That contradiction added another layer of intrigue. Was this visit spontaneous, or had it been carefully considered, precisely because of who would be present? As viewers pieced together timelines, other moments resurfaced. A quiet dinner weeks earlier, a fleeting photograph that once seemed insignificant, a shared space that had gone unnoticed at the time. Separately, these moments meant little. Together, they suggested continuity. Not a single encounter, but a relationship unfolding gradually, away from attention, until circumstances gently brought it into view. What resonated most with audiences was not speculation, but emotion. The hug didn't promise anything. It didn't define anything. It simply revealed something human. Respect, gratitude, perhaps reassurance. In a landscape where so much is curated, that sincerity stood out. People responded not because they felt entitled to answers, but because they recognized something real. Something they could feel even without understanding it fully. There was no sense of urgency to explain, no rush to capitalize on the moment, and that restraint made it stronger. It suggested confidence rather than avoidance, as if those involved understood that some things don't need to be clarified immediately. That meaning can exist without narration. That sometimes the most powerful statements are made through presence, not words. For many viewers, the moment lingered long after the clips ended. It sparked conversations not about rumors, but about boundaries, about how public figures navigate private relationships, about how respect is shown when cameras are watching, and about the rare occasions when authenticity breaks through the surface of spectacle. Perhaps this moment meant nothing beyond what was visible, or perhaps it represented a quiet acknowledgement shared between people who didn't need an audience to validate it. What made it compelling was precisely that uncertainty, the refusal to define it for us, the invitation to observe, to feel and to reflect without demanding resolution. If you've stayed with this story until now, it's because moments like this remind us why real-life drama resonates more deeply than fiction. Not because it is louder, but because it is quieter, because it leaves space for interpretation, for empathy, for connection. Thank you for watching and listening with such care. If you enjoy thoughtful updates and stories that explore the human side of public moments, consider subscribing to Update X24HH. Your support helps us continue bringing you meaningful stories from across the world. Don't forget to like, share, and stay with us for future updates. We truly appreciate you being part of this community, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next story.